Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Proline, the longest-running sports handicapping show in America. I'm John Cranton in Las Vegas, joined by Jeff Sod, who's been running Las Vegas Sports Services for over 14 years. It's tourney time. We're going to take a look at the March tournament play, some teams that should be good to wager on, as well as totals over and under, as well as some possible overvalued teams with some weaknesses. First, Jim Feist is going to be joining us a little later in the program with some tips that he has on a line movement that's taking place with some of these early tournament games, and remind you that Jim is on a 23-7 weekend run. He had 4 games of the year releases in college basketball. He had all 4 Wednesday's Big 12 tournament game of the year. That one with Oklahoma State, 80-62. His Big West game of the year was on Northridge, an underdog that won straight up. Friday had his rivalry game of the year. That was San Diego State topping UNLV. And then Saturday, his game of the year on Louisville topping UConn. Is also on a 23-13 run with Inner Circle College basketball releases. And here's the deal. If you want to play the rest of the tournament, Jim's executive and Inner Circle plays, $29 for that whole package, 1-866-841-1655. Speaking of sizzling runs, Jeff, you enjoyed the Friday, a 3-1 run. You had your tourney shocker game of the year. That was Pittsburgh. And you seemed to road Michigan State all weekend long. I didn't realize you were a Spartan fan.
This weekend I was, because right now they look like one of the favorites to go a long way in the NCAA tournament. Right now I'm going to give you the rest of March, NBA and college basketball, 5-star and best bet releases, all for a grand total of $20. Just call LVSS to 1-866-575-8916 the rest of the month. College basketball is going to be, NCAA, NIT, all those other tournaments, plus NBA, all for just $20. Call LVSS at 1-866-575-8916.
All right, let's start off with some teams that appear to be built for March. We got the Florida Gators, #1 with the Billy Donovan running the show. Jeff, are the Gators too big a public team to be backing, or they have the stuff to make a deep run?
Well, both, but you might not get much value here because right now they look like one of the best teams in the country. They almost blew that game against Kentucky, probably because they were almost due to lose. They went undefeated through the regular season, and then they won the first couple of games of the tournament. So you can't blame them for having one bad half. But right now, Florida looks like one of the best teams in the country and one of the favorites to win the whole thing. This team is similar to the 06-07 teams, where they have a lot of guys that stayed together and didn't go pro early. Right now, they have 3 seniors, Prather, Young, and Wilbekin. So this is the kind of team that can go all the way, and but the only thing is you probably won't get a lot of value with the lines there, John.
Well, I'm going to take a look at a team like Virginia coming out of the ACC. I think they're going to be a team that I would look to wager on. I think they're going to offer some value. First of all, they got a chip on their shoulder. They're just the 8th team to win the ACC regular season title outright and win their tournament, and they've been undervalued, not being a huge name program for quite a while. When they face a team with a winning record, they're 13-2-2 against the spread, and overall they're on a 15-5-2 spread run coming into the tourney. Plus they have that great defense that they can rely on, which is so important this time of the year. They're on a 10-4 run under the total, like the 1-2 punch they have with sophomore Malcolm Brogdon and the 6'6 senior Joe Harris, who really does it all. They're a selfless team that was certainly on display in the ACC tourney, and that suffocating defense. They swept 3 games and they allowed just 51, 48, and 63 points on the way to the title game, or in the title game. They held that great Duke offense to just 38% shooting. So you got a coach here in Tony Bennett who demands a physical inside play. I think that's going to be a big plus in March. And notice that when they face Duke on Sunday, they outscored them 25-7 from the free throw line. So there's quite a bit that Virginia has in their corner. I think they can continue that, being very good in March as a team to look at under the total and offering some value. They're not going to be a pushover team at all. Jeff, do you see any other teams in the East that might stand out?
Well, Syracuse, I tell you, we talked about their problems the last couple of weeks where they just can't put the ball in the basket. And that was shown perfectly in the final seconds of the game against NC State when they lost in the ACC tournament. Syracuse missed the last 6 shots in a row. They're just firing up from everywhere. Most of them didn't even come close, and that's going to be the problem. You know, they always have that great zone defense. They have size, rebounding, but if you can't put the ball in the basket, you can't score points, and that's been the problem. They're shooting 43.7% from the field, 33% from three-point range. In that game against NC State, they shot 33% overall. So right now, doesn't look good for Syracuse. They've lost 5 out of the last 7, and they'll beat Western Michigan, but then they'll get either Ohio State or Dayton, and that won't be easy against either one of those teams. So right now, I'm not too high on Syracuse, John.
Okay, I'm going to take a look at Kansas. Here's a team that might offer some value because they've got star power at so many positions. First of all, look at the offense and the rebounding categories for the Jayhawks. 25-9 season, 8-7 spread run coming in. They've been covering numbers. And the offense is sensational. 26th in the nation in points scored. They're 6th in the whole country in field goal shooting, close to 50%. If you just look at the Big 12 play, one of the dominant conferences, they outscored teams by 10 points a game. Well, that's double anybody else. They also average 81 points per game. This is a powerhouse team behind the freshman sensation, Andrew Wiggins. But it's that injury to Joel Embiid that really changes things. Tremendous player in the low post, blocking shots and grabbing rebounds. May see some value with Embiid not being in there in the tournament, but this team still is very potent. When Kansas has been an underdog this season, they've been great, 2-1 straight up in ATS. Haven't seen it very often, but they've been winning those games. If they happen to face a Big 12 team, they're 21-11 against the spread against the Big 12. So the caution with Kansas would be future bettors. If you're looking at them to go to the Final Four or winning the whole thing, boy, that injury to Embiid certainly changes it. He's got a back injury, and if it's a smaller guy and he has an injury, that's one thing. But when you're 7 foot like that and you have all that weight and height, that can mess you up, as we see with guys like Bill Walton and more recently Greg Oden. So I think Kansas is a team that's going to could offer some value early on in the tournament, but if you're looking at future bettors, I would say be very cautious. From the middle of the country, Jeff, let's move to the West Coast. Do you see anybody out west who might be a powerhouse?
Well, Arizona, obviously, I like teams that overcome adversity and then bounce back because they come back stronger. That's what happened to Arizona. They suffered a huge blow when Brandon Ashley went down early February, and then they lost to Arizona State in overtime, but they bounced back. They won 5 in a row. They did lose UCLA in the Pac-10 championship game, but of course, the Pac-12 championship game, but UCLA shot the lights out. There wasn't much you can do about that. But Arizona still has a lot of talent. Nick Johnson and Aaron Gordon. Defense allows only 38% field goal percentage. They average 39 rebounds per game. They're number 1 seed, but after Weber State, they get either Gonzaga or Oklahoma State. That won't be easy. Oklahoma State's another team that's overcome much adversity and now seem to be bouncing back too. So Arizona can go a long way, but it won't be easy because they're in kind of a tough bracket there, John.
I'm going to jump back to the East because I see VCU as a team that's still undervalued and could offer some terrific value in the tournament, not only covering but games being low scoring and under the total. They're hot coming in, winning 18 of the last 23 games, and they've got an outstanding balance, which is another thing along with defense that you really need this time of the year. They were number 1 offensive team in the A-10 with 75 points per game, and of course that fantastic defense they play for Shaka Smart. The numbers were 3rd in the conference, just 66.4 points per game. Field goal shooting defense was sensational. 4th in the conference, 42%, and they were tops at defending the three-pointer, under 28% beyond the arc. Just a phenomenal all-around team. Like the 1-2 punch with junior Trayvon Graham and Javonte Reddick. Reddick is a 6'9", 250-pound senior. Nice piece to have in the low post this time of the year. And they've been undervalued at times. We did see them stumble a bit in the Atlantic 10 title game. They lost to St. Joe's 65-61. Surprisingly, they allowed 48% shooting, and that's not at all common. This team was so strong defensively, so I look at that and wonder, is that a team that's wearing down defensively, or was that just one bad game? Based on how the whole season has gone and the way the coach demands defense, I'm going to say that was just a bad game that they had. So I think they're going to offer some value. when VCU plays a team with a winning record, which obviously we're going to see over the next few weeks, 9-3-1 against the spread. All right, before we look at some teams that might be overvalued, let's take a look at, let's hear from Jim Feist as he's been watching some line movement out there with some of these teams. Jim?
The tourney lines have been out for a little bit, and the matchups with the point spreads are out. There's been a couple of moves. Florida is still a favorite, and they've gone from 9-2 to 4-1. Defending champ Louisville moved from 15-1 to 7-1. That's the biggest move. Then Michigan State went from 9-2 to 5-1. Arizona, not much of a move, 6-1 to 7-1, and Virginia 15-1 to 18-1. I don't quite understand that one moving up like that, but that's pretty good value. This is going to be a red-hot tourney. There's 12 teams that I look at that could possibly win this whole thing. It's not that far out of balance. There's not one team that's that great. There are a couple teams that are playing exceptionally well right now, and the public is all over Louisville and Michigan State. So there's a lot to be we can keep our eye on, and I'm going to be doing that every day. And I'm going to have my point spread moves on all the conferences, all the tournaments. NIT starts tomorrow, and some play-in games tomorrow as well for the NCAA. So we're going to be on top of this on a daily basis.
All right, we're going to take a look at some overvalued teams in tournament play. Before we get to that, if you want to get free plays sent to your cell phone every day on a text message, if you want it from Dave Koken, just text Koken to 313131. Or if you want them every day from Jim Feist, just text winner to 313131. Okay, well, let's go with some teams here that are possibly overvalued. Jeff will have to start with the only undefeated team that we have seen in conference play in quite a long time, Wichita State. I look at them and say, well, this team really hasn't played anybody, so I'm very hesitant to think that they're going to be good in tournament play. How about you?
Well, anytime you go 34-0, it's not a fluke. It's especially these days in college basketball, there's a lot of parity. There's not much difference between mid-majors and majors. So, and plus this team went to the Final Four last year, so they've already proven that they can play with the best teams. I know they got a break not having Creighton in the Missouri Valley Conference this year. That would have been interesting to see how they would have fared against playing Creighton twice. But still, this team is capable of going to the Final Four and all the way because they've already proven they can do it. Last year they got by Ohio State by 4, Gonzaga by 6, and so it doesn't. They also know how to win close games. So I would not underrate Wichita State at all, and you might get some value here because many people think they're overrated, but so you might get some value in the line here, John.
Okay, one team that I do think is also overrated will be Villanova. I mean, here's a team that's 28-4. There's a lot to like about their regular season, but still, I see too many negatives. First of all, it's a watered-down Big East, and they did it with a blistering offense in the three-point game. But is that enough to carry a team in March tournament when you get rebounding and defense coming to the forefront? As great as Villanova was in the regular season, they did not win a single Big East tournament victory. They fell to what I see as a mediocre Seton Hall team, 64-63. Villanova just 4 of 19 from long range in that game, just 38% for the entire from the field for the game. So when you rely so much on that three and it's not hitting, you got to rely on something else, such as defense or other options. And they certainly didn't have it in the Big East tourney. They don't really have the defense to fall back on. They allowed 46% shooting during the regular season, and they allowed Seton Hall to hit 8 of 19 threes. That's 42% from long range. During the regular season, they had some games with Kansas and Iowa that they squeezed out wins over. The Iowa game was an OT, which is very impressive. But they also got smoked by Syracuse, 78-62, and Creighton destroyed them twice by a combined 49 points. I am not going to be backing Villanova unless it's over the total in this tournament. Jeff, we know you went with Michigan State over the weekend. Obviously went with them against Michigan. What is it about the Wolverines?
Yeah, Michigan is not getting much respect right now. They won the Big Ten Conference by 3 games, but everyone's talking about Michigan State going to the Final Four because obviously the Spartans had a lot of injuries and they're getting most of their players back now. But when Michigan's offense is clicking, they're hard to stop. They shoot 47.6% from the field, nearly 40% from the three-point line, but they were dominated by Michigan State in the Big Ten championship game. The Spartans shot It's a strange stat. The Spartans shot 50% for the game, but they were only 2 of 17 from beyond the arc. You don't see that very often. But Michigan uncharacteristically shot 31.5% in that game. So if a good defensive team comes around and can stop Michigan, especially with the outside shooting, then the Wolverines will be in big trouble. Not only that, after they'll probably beat Wofford. Then they have Texas or Arizona State. That won't be easy. And then they run into Duke. So right now the chances are very grim for Michigan to get past that Sweet 16, John.
Okay, and I think that St. Louis is a team that's going to struggle. Have a great regular season, 26-6, but they're not covering numbers of late, getting some national attention. 3-9 spread run coming into the tourney, and they're not even winning games of late either. 1-4 straight up ATS run coming into tournament play. They lost to St. Bonnie's in the tournament. They were 6-point favorite, lost 71-68, blowing a 38-28 halftime lead for the game. They allowed 51% shooting. And I have to ask, what happened to that great St. Louis defense at tourney time? And that was the highest-rated team that St. Bonnie's had beaten since 1998. Here's a St. Louis team that early in the year went against Wisconsin and Wichita, lost both games by 6 and 5 points without scoring many points. So you've got a team that puts all their emphasis on defense, although it has struggled in the tournament, and they've done a great offensive team during the regular season, 8th in the Atlantic 10 in scoring, just 69 points per game, and it's the defense that they rely on. A senior-laden team, which I also like, but I don't like the run of bad play that they have, so I'm going to be very hesitant to back St. Louis in the tourney, other than the fact that they're great at slowing the pace down, 19-9 run under the total. All right, any other teams, Jeff, that you want to tell everybody about?
Well, Cincinnati, this team has got a 5th seed, have to go to Spokane, but actually they only have themselves to blame. They lost in the semifinals of the AAC tournament, and they also lost to UConn, Louisville, and SMU. Those are all within the last 9 games. They do have a good defense. 20 of the last 25 games have gone under the total for Cincy. Also, they're 39-12 to the under in the last 51 non-conference games. The game they lost at SMU, they lost by 21 points. They shot 35%. So the defense is going to have to carry them here. It's going to come in handy against Harvard. Harvard has an explosive offense. The Crimson only 3-point dogs. That's the reason, because they can score. They beat New Mexico in the first round last year, and if the Bearcats get by Harvard, they probably have Michigan State waiting for them. So right now, it doesn't look too good for Cincy in this tournament. They're going to have to use their defense to go a long way, but it's going to be tough for Cincy, John.
Yeah, and a team that I'm going to be, I think is going to have a tough time would be streaky Baylor. I mean, his team that started the year 13-1 straight up, and they went to that midseason funk, a 5-8 record, 5-7-1 against the spread. Then they got hot again, going 10-2 down the stretch. So really, who are the real bears here? Well, here's a team that is just 9-9 in Big 12 play. Like the offense with 6'9" senior Corey Jefferson. They got the senior guard Brady Heslip, Kenny Cherry, and then the big Rico Gathers up front. There's a lot of talent to like, but the thing is they focus mainly on offense. 68th in the nation in scoring. They're 24th in the whole country in rebounds, so that's a positive. But, boy, there's some negatives that I look at, and that's defense and free throw shooting. It'll last in the Big Ten at the free throw line. In March play, you're going to see teams where it's very close. Well, if you got a team that can't hit free throws, that is a huge detriment potentially. And then there's the defense. Boy, they finished 8th in the Big 12 in field goal shooting defense, allowing 45%. Second to last in shooting on offense, just 42%. So I think I can see why this team was streaky with some of those weaknesses, and I think that's going to force them to come to a halt rather quickly, and I would not be backing on them. And we saw that problem, too, with defense in the Big 12 title game against Iowa State. They had the lead early on, but then ran out of gas as Iowa State just blew by them. Iowa State hitting 50% for the game, 8 of 15 from long range, and I think those weaknesses are going to continue. Okay, let's take a look at some of the offers we have this weekend. We're going to start with Jim Feist, who has a monster play coming up this week, and he wants to add to that perfect 4-0 game of the year run. Jim?
I have my college tournament underdog of the year going this week. And you want to be on board because last week I was 4-0 with my tourney games of the year, cashing with Oklahoma State, Northridge, San Diego State, which was my rivalry game of the year, Louisville is my tournament game of the year. You can grab this tourney dog of the year right now at jimfeist.com. It's available right now online. You buy it online. Make sure you stay there with that.
All right, reminding you, everybody, that Mr. Vegas has 7 days of services, NBA and college, for just $15 if you want to get on board with a Vegas Pro. 1-866-896-1627. Jeff off a 3-1 run on Friday, and as well as culminating with that tournament shocker of the year Saturday with Pittsburgh, as well as Michigan State, a perfect 3-0 against the spread as you rode them. How can folks get aboard LVSS for the next few weeks?
But just call LVSS 1-866-575-8916. You're going to get the rest of March, the rest of the month, NBA, college basketball, all the tournaments. You get all my 5-star and best bet releases, all for a grand total of $20. Just call LVSS at 1-866-575-8916.
All right, and also Jim Feist, 23-7 run in all sports over the last weekend, 4-0 with those games of the year, and a 23-13 inner circle run. Here's the deal: for $29, you get the rest of the tournament with Jim, executive, and those inner circle plays. Just call 1-866-841-1655. Take advantage of these offers from the Vegas pros. Everybody, enjoy the games. We got sensational run over the next few weeks with winners morning, noon, and night. Thanks for joining us. Good luck with the games, everyone, and we'll see you next week with another edition of Pro Live.